Lizzy and Me. From the collection Something Special by Selim Ulug, 2021. Read by Alia E. Torrie. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Soren Kierkegaard. It was here at the seafront that I passed my happiest days as a child, and after all these years it really hasn't changed. The air is scented with seaweed, the waves lap at the long sandy beach, gulls squawk as they dart about, children play, and dogs scamper. From tiny tin booths, vendors provide all-day breakfast, chips and ice cream cones. Sometimes, after gazing for hours at the sea, as it's coming on to dusk, I can almost hear the old foghorn. The lighthouse is still here, at the end of the long curved pier. But its light no longer shines, and its horn is silent. It's late afternoon, and from my sand-dusted bench upon the boardwalk, I see that families are packing up to return home. The parents gathering up toys and pets and consoling their children with the promise of returning another day. I also see, I think I see, 2 children, a boy and a girl, running about the sand, each with a plastic pail and shovel, chasing each other, chasing dogs, chasing seagulls. The shovel tumbles out of the boy's pail, and he stops, gets to his knees, and fills the pail with sand. The girl turns and joins him. It's hard to make out any details. I blink and wipe my eyes. Movement to my left distracts me. A tall, thin man wearing an open brown trench coat over a black t-shirt and jeans. His face is gaunt, unshaven. His long blonde hair a haphazard mess. Brushing the hair away from his blue eyes, the man looks out at the sea, notices me, or the bench, and takes a seat. Have I seen him before? After exhaling audibly, he says, "I don't know how you do it." I wait for clarification, but none is forthcoming. The man rises, stuffs his hands in his coat pockets, and continues his shuffle along the seafront. He is soon forgotten as my thoughts drift towards my childhood. Eventually, the chill of the oncoming evening reminds me of the time. With a sigh, I zip up my windbreaker and take my leave. I drive home and cannot hide from my friends that I remain listless, disconsolate, and so, by degrees, they drift away and I am left with my memories. Emma remains loyal. Her friends tolerate me, cast half-hearted smiles my way. I wonder how long it will be before Emma goes the way of my other relationships. Wednesday evening, as usual, I am at the care home where my mother resides. Going on 86, she has advanced dementia. If it's a good day, she remembers me. Today, it seems, is not a good day. She looks blankly in my direction as I enter her room. "Evening, Mum. How are you today?" Her watery eyes squint a bit, and her thin lips shift left and right. Finally, she brushes back her unkempt hair. It doesn't look as though the staff have paid her much attention today, and says, "I don't think I'm your mother, pet." "Not my mother," I say, having already prepared myself to behave in as jovial a manner as possible. I reply, "Well, that's a shame, 'cause I bet you were a great mum." "Oh, away with you," she says with a hint of a smile that tells me she's pleased I said so. The unit in the memory care facility is as it always is, bathroom and small living room decorated with as many items from the family home as I could fit. There's the old Turkish carpet, a small settee, a coffee table, a reclining chair, a family portrait, a collection of small oil paintings and a few Royal Doulton figurines set upon a shelf above the foot of her bed. "Would you like anything?" I ask. "Some tea?" "No, pet, I'm fine," she says, shifting slightly on the reclining chair. I take a seat on the settee and my gaze drifts towards the family portrait. Father had already left us when it was taken. Mum is seated on a chair with Lizzy sitting on her lap. I'm standing on her right, my hand resting on Mum's shoulder. Pointing to the portrait, I ask, "Who are those good-looking people? Do you remember?" The neutral expression on Mum's face works itself into a frown as she gazes blankly at the portrait. "I don't like that picture," she says, and looks away. After an hour spent talking about my day and the people I work with, I say goodbye and close the door behind me. Wiping away a tear, I wonder whether the mother I knew is gone completely, or simply buried so deep within as to be near unreachable. Since Lizzy, I've spent a great deal of time lost in my memories. What must it be like living moment to moment with no memory of yesterday, in a state where the past dissolves into tendrils of mist before disappearing altogether into a dense fog? Emma is waiting in the lobby, having finished her shift a little while ago. After air kisses, we confirm our dinner plans. In half an hour, we are at the restaurant. We complement each other well, I think. I'm quiet, self-contained. Emma draws me out with her effervescent, bubbly personality. Tonight, I feel particularly withdrawn. My mother has stirred a jumble of thoughts and memories, and it can be hard to disentangle myself from the past. So it takes time for me to notice that Emma is unusually quiet. Our meals have arrived, and we are on our second glasses of wine before I say anything. Emma tells me of her concern regarding what she calls my obsession with the past. "I love you, Randy, but at some point," she says, raising her head to make eye contact, "we need to get on with our lives. We all do." She holds her eye contact a moment longer, then returns to the business of cutting her food. With a sigh, I do likewise. Her message is crystal clear. According to Emma, I'm neglecting my life for the sake of the past, and she's right. Nevertheless, I'm back at the seafront the first chance I get on a bank holiday weekend, sitting on the usual bench, and once again the hours pass as I gaze at the beach and the sea and the lighthouse. Ostensibly, I'm here seeking inspiration for my new novel. My first published novel, Now What, has been, as my agent put it, moderately successful. She's encouraged me to consider writing full-time and to spend more time and care crafting the prose. She's awaiting some sample chapters from my next work. Unfortunately, all I can think about is Lizzy. When we were children, our family often came here to visit our aunt, Mum's sister. Auntie Maggie's house was a narrow 3-story affair, oddly organised, and chock full of nooks and crannies and hidey-holes. My favourite room was the top-floor library, with its floor-to-ceiling shelves stuffed with books and its piles of books upon the floor. We'd find treasures here, Lizzy and I, and spend hours reading to each other. Our bedroom was on the second floor. We slept in twin beds separated by a small chest of drawers, upon which sat an old-fashioned alarm clock with bells and a hammer. After lights out, we would tiptoe to the window, and if we stretched and craned our necks to the right, we could just make out the lighthouse and watch the light spin endlessly through the evening fog. When we returned to bed, the foghorn with its 2 mournful stentorian tones would lull us to sleep. In the mornings, we would creep down the stairs, cover ourselves with a blanket, and watch the Tom and Jerry show and other cartoons, until the adults woke and hustled us into the kitchen for breakfast. That home is now a bed and breakfast. I stay in the old bedroom when I come here. From the house, it's a short walk to the nearby park, where we spent many an hour playing and chasing each other. It's a pleasant stroll past the tennis court, the pond and the gazebo to the faded brick archway that empties onto Roker Beach. Odd to think how my childhood self walked upon this very pathway. Sometimes The past seems so close, and yet... Though lost in thought, I notice him again, the tall man in the trench coat. He seems more haggard than before, his hair more matted, and his eyes have sunk deeper into his face. As before, he takes a seat beside me and gazes straight ahead at the turf and the gulls. I'm not sure whether he's noticed that I'm here. "I don't think I can do this any more," he says abruptly. Uncertain as to whether he's speaking to me or simply giving voice to his own despair, I look at him and wait for him to continue. Turning to me, his eyes widen. "You can see me?" "Of course," I answer. He nods, then doesn't speak for a while, seemingly turning his attention back to the sea. "Are you all right?" I finally ask. "I've been trying to understand what it is to live in this world." "This world?" Smiling slightly, he says, "Imagine a vinyl record, and you're the phonograph needle. You're placed in a groove and have the illusion of moving forward, though it's the record that's actually turning. This is your world. Now, imagine that you can move about the surface of the record to any location you choose. That is my world. Being here, being so constrained as you are, it's difficult. But you're time sensitive. You've seen things, haven't you? And heard things. And you're looking for something from another time." It was a statement, not a question. Something or someone you associate with this place, and you think that being here will bring you closer to them. To my surprise, my eyes began to tear up, and I look away. "You're not far wrong," he adds gently. I turn to him again. "If you let me, I can help you find what you're looking for. Then, one day, if you keep looking, you'll find your own way." I nod. "Help me." I'm Randy Hodgkins, and I'm 8 years old. I'm chasing Lizzy on the beach, but I'm not really trying to catch her. That wouldn't be any fun. It's more fun just to chase. When the shovel falls out of my pail, I stop, get down on my knees, and scoop the sand into the pail. We can build a sandcastle. Where's Lizzy? There she is. She was still running, but now she's come to join me and is shoveling sand into her own pail. The tide has gone out, and the sand is still wet. I look up after a while and see that people are leaving. I glance at my watch. It has a shiny red strap and a large face. "Lizzy," I say, "we're supposed to be home now." Lizzy continues to work. "Lizzy!" "No!" she declares, throwing her pail at me. "I want to finish the castle." I'm Randy Hodgkins, and I'm 11 years old. My mother is washing the dishes. Father is reading his newspaper on the Chesterfield in the sitting room and glancing at Top of the Pops once in a while. I'm sitting on the floor, watching the television, when I feel Lizzy's arm grab me from behind and pull me down. "Time to fight," she says, and we wrestle. I see Father glance at us. With a sigh, he shakes his head and then continues to read. I forget myself in the excitement and pin Lizzy down. As she struggles and I see the red in her face and the fire in her eyes, I remember. I feign that she's managed to get me off balance and roll off her. Lizzy says loudly that she's won. She usually does. It's not very nice when she doesn't. I'm Randy Hodgkins. I'm 15. Lizzy is getting ready to go out on a date. This makes me feel strange. I don't think I like it. Lizzy is different now, so am I, but I mean, she's different towards me. She ignores me most of the time, doesn't look in my direction unless she has to. I've asked her why she's like this, but she just rolls her eyes and says, "We're growing up." Growing up sucks. I ended up half a block behind Lizzy and her friends while walking home from school once. Lizzy whispered into the ear of one of them, and the girl turned to look at me and giggled. I didn't like that. I want Lizzy back. I'm Randy Hodgkins, at 18. Tomorrow Mum is driving me to uni, where I'll spend most of the next 4 years. Lizzy isn't going, and we'll be separated for the first time in our lives. I begged her to come with me, but she says uni isn't for her, and besides, the day had to come sometime. Now I think I don't want to go. But she's consoling me, telling me we can talk any time on the phone. What are you going to do? I ask. She says she'll continue to work at the record store for now. She enjoys it, and when she's saved up enough money, she'll get a flat on her own or with a friend. For the past few months, Lizzy hasn't ignored me, and we've become close again. Not inseparable like when we were children, but we share lots of things. We've had a really nice talk this evening, but it's getting late. Lizzy gives me a big hug, kisses my forehead, and tells me to get a good night's sleep, and that everything will be fine. I hope so. Randy Hodgkins, 24. Living and working in London as a contract programmer. I'm on the train home to visit Lizzy. After some frantic phone calls from me, she's admitted herself to rehab. I've promised to visit. The haggard, unshaven man sitting opposite to me seems familiar, but my thoughts remain on Lizzy. Once she got hooked on barbiturates, Lizzy began having more and more trouble keeping up with daily life. She was nearly fired from the store, but her boss, with whom she's been friends for years, agreed to a leave of absence. As the train continues northward, I find myself grinding my teeth. I try to force myself to relax. I have to admit that I'm very worried. I'm at the clinic with Lizzy. The sun takes some of the chill out of the fall air, and we sit at a picnic table on the grounds. She looks thin and pale, but tries her best to smile and assures me that she will beat this and get back to her life. She brightened at the sight of me, which was lovely to see. My heart aches for her. I miss her so much. Please let her get better. I'm Randy Hodgkins, 28, and Lizzy has gone missing. She hasn't shown up for work, and her roommate hasn't seen her for 3 days. Her friends haven't seen her for longer, but even before Lizzy withdrew, it was obvious she'd relapsed after 18 months of sobriety. She hasn't taken anything with her. Her clothes are still in her apartment, as is her purse, her money, and her phone. We've notified the police, but they say there's little they can do. I've never felt so helpless. I'm Randy Hodgkins, 29. Today we heard... No! I scream. I'm back on the beach by the seaside. Passers-by are staring, but I don't care. I can barely see them for the tears streaming down my face. My body shudders uncontrollably. As I begin to recover, I notice that the man beside me has a concerned look on his face. How? I ask. Hypnosis? He shakes his head. This is what it is to visit your own past. You relive the events with some awareness of your future self. You were actually there. I thought that's what you wanted. So did I say. But it wasn't all as I remembered. I'd forgotten about the anger Lizzy carried with her. She'd try to bottle it up, but it would finally, inevitably erupt. Forgot how she'd been so cool, so aloof towards me during our early teen years. And the end, her end, I couldn't bear to live through that again. She relapsed and then died of an overdose after living on the streets for months. I don't know how you did that, but thank you. Some time passes during which we sit in silence. I saw you, I say, in the past, at least once, on the train and here at the seafront. I've seen you at least a couple of times. I will visit you in your past, he says, for you interest me greatly, you and your potential. For so long I've felt tied to the past, tried to recapture it. Now that I've seen it, I'm not sure what to do anymore. Nodding, the man says, with your permission, I'd like to show you a glimpse of a future, a possible future. You can really do this, but how? For now, it doesn't matter. May I? I look at him and see no malice in his expression, just concern. Why not? My future can't be any worse than my past. I'm Randy Hodgkins, at 37. How I came to be so old, I have no idea. But no time to think about that. I have to chase after Lizzy. I'm at the seafront, and 5-year-old Lizzy is darting about the pockets of seaweed, avoiding dogs and people until she's breathless. I'm not really trying to catch her. The chase is more fun. As she stands laughing, cheeks red with exertion, I find that I'm bursting with more love than I've ever felt before. I pick her up and embrace her. Then I hear a whistle behind me. Emma has her new camera and wants to take a photo of us. Lizzy and I pose. My heart aches with joy, and I hate that the vision is fading as I return to this reality. The man is gone. There's no sign of him. I get up to leave. There's something special I need to take care of. We're sitting at our usual restaurant, Emma and I. She's looking at me strangely. What? I ask. You seem different, brighter, happy even. What's happened? With a smile, I reach across the table and take her hand. I've realized that I'm ready. Ready for what? For the future. For us. Eyes wide, she tilts her head, smiles and squeezes my hand. In that case, so am I. I'm Randy Hodgkins, and I'm 32. I've learned how to travel to my past and have done so a few times to relive some precious moments. But I no longer live for the past. Today I live for the moment. And the future. I haven't travelled to my future since that day at the seafront. I think it will be better to simply enjoy the journey. I've learned there's more to the past than rosy remembrances. It's messier. Happy moments seasoned with routine and unhappiness. But that's okay. The happy moments make it all worthwhile. Mum passed away 7 months ago. At the end she seemed ready, and I think I saw relief in her face. Relief that it was finally over. At times I feel sad. At times it doesn't seem real that she could possibly be gone. But in the end I realise that is what she wanted. Emma and I have been married for a year, and she's pregnant. The ultrasound shows that it's a girl. Our discussion of what to name her was brief. It was Emma who immediately suggested we call her Lizzy.